Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday morning to you. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And listen, I want to ask you once again that you would please consider, here at the end of the year, you're doing your financial planning for the coming year, would you please consider supporting Preterist Research Institute? We're a nonprofit. Your gifts will be tax deductible. And we have wonderful, fantastic opportunities to take advantage of, to keep the ministry going, sharing the absolutely marvelous news of the God who keeps His promises, the God who has kept His promises. So please consider supporting Preterist Research Institute in this coming year. Pardon me. All right. Well, this is video number 13, as we are examining and refuting the book by Kenneth Gentry entitled, Have We Missed the Second Coming? One of the arguments that Dr. Gentry makes is in regard to Matthew chapter 24 and 25. As many Reformed scholars do, Dr. Gentry believes that Matthew 24 and 25 discusses two events. I've already shared with you how he believes the disciples were confused in response to Jesus' prediction of the impending fall of Jerusalem and the temple. The disciples asked, tell us, when shall these things be? What shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? And Dr. Gentry believes, as we've noted, that the disciples mistakenly believe that the temple will fall at the end of time. Not true. That is a false assumption. But in the development of his argumentation in his book, Dr. Gentry then comes to Matthew 24 and verse 36, which is, in his view, absolutely pivotal. Jesus has predicted the fall of Jerusalem, verse 34, and assured them that it would happen in that generation. Dr. Gentry believes that he now changes the subject in verse 36 and says, but. He believes that's a contrast. He believes that's a change of subject. But of that day and hour knows no man, no, not the Son, but the Father only. So, according to Dr. Gentry, Jesus himself was ignorant of the time of his coming. Only the Father knew the time of his coming. Now, you got to just stop right here and catch the power of what I'm about to share with you. Remember, Dr. Gentry believes that AD 70 was the coming of the Lord. It was the end of the age. It was the marriage, the new covenant marriage of Christ. It was the arrival of the new heaven and the new earth of Revelation 21 and 22. How do you get anything beyond that? Well, as we saw, he believes those things were typological, foreshadowing of the real end. And verse 36 is part of his reason for doing that. Jesus did not know the day or the hour of his coming, therefore, all these New Testament time statements about the imminence of the coming of the Lord, one of two things is true. Number one, the imminent time statements refer to AD 70, which removes about 80%, 90% of the discussion of the coming of the Lord in the New Testament and puts it at AD 70. Or somebody was mistaken. But I want you to follow with me right here. The Father knew the day and the hour of the coming of the Lord. Right? That's what Gentry is saying. All right. Now watch this. The Father, who knew the day and the hour, told his disciples, John chapter 16, 7 and following, it is expedient for you that I go away. If I do not go away, the Comforter cannot come. But if I go away, the Father will send him unto you. He will convict the world of sin and of righteousness and of judgment to come. He will show you things to come. Okay, do you catch it? Here's the Father who knew the day and the hour, who would give the apostles knowledge of things to come. Now then, wow. In Luke 21 and verse 8, Jesus warned his apostles, many will come in my name saying, I am he, and the end has drawn near. Do not go after them. That is, don't believe them. Well, if they're not supposed to believe them, then they shouldn't be making the same statements, right? But remember, Jesus said the Holy Spirit would come and show them things to come. In Acts chapter 2, the apostles received the Holy Spirit sent by the Father. Right? Those same apostles, now watch this. This is incredible. Those same apostles began to write 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 7, the end of all things has drawn near. Now wait a minute. Jesus said, don't believe anyone who prematurely says the end of all things or the end is drawn near. Here is Peter, who stood and heard Jesus make that warning, writing by inspiration of the Holy Spirit, sent by the Father who knew the day and the hour, writing later in that same generation, wrote and said, the end of all things has drawn near. Now James, who was not one of the apostles, there on the Mount of Olives probably, but nonetheless, writing through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit sent by the Father, said, the parousia, that's the parousia that the disciples are asking about, Matthew 24, verse 3, what should be the sign of your parousia? James, inspired by the Holy Spirit, sent by the Father who knew the day and the hour, wrote, the parousia has drawn near. And now watch this. Wow, this is incredible. Revelation 1, 1-3. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God, that's the Father who knew the day and the hour, gave to him to show to his servants things which must shortly come to pass. The time, verse 3, is at hand. Now wait a minute. What was the Father revealing to Jesus himself? These things must shortly come to pass. And thus Jesus said, Revelation 22, verse 10, or verse 12, excuse me, behold, I come quickly. And by the way, John, who was with Jesus, when Jesus said, don't believe anyone who says the time has drawn near, John said, these things are faithful and true. And the God of the prophets has sent and signified that these things must shortly come to pass. Not some of these things, not even most of these things, these things. So what we have in the epistles, written by the apostles who had received the Holy Spirit, sent by the Father who knew the day and the hour, they said 2,000 years ago, through that inspiration of the Holy Spirit, in a very, very little while, the one who is coming will come, and he will not tarry. Hebrews 10:37. Now, folks, if they were wrong, if they were misguided, if they were deluded, then it was the Father who sent the Holy Spirit to them, deluding them. God can tell time. And thus Gentry's attempt to apply Matthew 24:36 to the rest of the New Testament, indicating, implying that all of these New Testament time statements about the coming of the Lord cannot apply to the second coming, you see, that's a misguided hermeneutic of anachronism. It is taking what was true when Jesus was alive on earth and applying it to passages after the Father sent the Holy Spirit to inspire those apostles. It is improper hermeneutic. And look, I develop all of this, I discuss all of this extensively in my book, Can God Tell Time? And you know, Christmas is coming up, all right? For the first 20 viewers, that's the first 20 viewers of these videos who do not have a copy of my book, Can God Tell Time, go to my website, donkpreston.com, bibleprophecy.com, send me an email and say, Don, I want a copy of your book, Can God Tell Time? I don't have a copy. I'd love to read it. Something, something like that. I will send you a copy of this book to the first 20 people only, all right? And I will pay shipping. Totally free, absolutely totally free. No strings attached. So go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. Send me an email. Tell me you don't have a copy of it, and you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and you'll get a copy. Merry Christmas to you, totally free of charge. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. You have a very safe, blessed weekend. Lord willing, we'll see you on Monday.